Up until a few years ago, guilloche dials were most associated with luxury timepieces. These are dials adorned with intricate and repetitive designs, engraved either by hand or by using a technique called engine turning. While it's true that guilloche dials were once only for the rich, it is getting more and more common seeing them on more affordable watches. One of the brands that have been excelling in bringing this exquisite feature to the masses is Seiko, specifically with their Presage line of entry-level dress watches. This is the Seiko SRPE45J1, better known as the Mojito. The Cocktail Time series this watch belongs to was released in 2020, and it is inspired by real-world cocktails, like the Negroni, Old Clock, Black Russian, Manhattan, and Mojito. In this video we are going to explore everything there is to know about this watch, all the specs and measurements, the pros and the cons. A huge thank you goes out to Ilan, one of the channel's subscribers, for lending me his Mojito for review. 4 years after its debut, it is still listed on Seiko's website for $425. You should shop around if you want to buy one, because you can't find it for less than that, though it is getting harder as time passes. The Mojito measures 38.5mm across the case, it is 12mm thick including the added bulk of the crystal, has 20mm between the lugs, and a compact lug-to-lug distance of 45.5mm. It weighs 60 grams and is water resistant to 5 bar. The dial? Wow! I've seen green and gold dials before, and they never looked this good. I've watched many reviews of different cocktail time variations, including the Mojito, but none of them prepared me to how it actually looks in person. Cameras do not do it justice. First of all, it is the richest shade of green I've ever seen on a dial. It has both a fumey effect, where the edges of the dial are darker in color than its center, and a beautifully executed guilloche pattern that when the light hits it, is absolutely mesmerizing. The applied gold tone elements on the dial join the play of light, and they too are done impeccably. Large Arabic evens, and faceted, whatever you want to call these shapes, odds. These are brushed on top and polished on the sides, which gives a nice effect. Seiko's logo is boldly applied under the 12 o'clock index, and the color match date wheel is found at the 3 o'clock position, sticking out like a sore thumb with its applied metal frame. That's the only element on the dial I can definitely do without. Besides that, we have some printed elements, a minute track running along the edge of the dial, Presage automatic above the 6 o'clock index, and made in Japan and the movement's reference number on the very bottom of the dial. The hands, gorgeous as well. These are gold-colored dolphin hands, and the way Seiko made them is nothing short of genius. Each hand is faceted, with one side brushed and the other polished. This not only adds to their visual appeal, but also enhances legibility by creating a dynamic play of light. There's a diamond-shaped eye of the needle counterbalance on the second hand, a recurrent theme on many Seiko watches. Covering the dial is a very nicely domed hardlex crystal. If you're not familiar with the term hardlex, that's basically Seiko's proprietary hardened mineral crystal. It does look very good, but you know what I think about tall mineral crystals. More on that in the cons section of the video. The case is made of 316L stainless steel, and it is polished all around. There's not a single brushed surface found anywhere on the watch. If you're going to wear it as a daily watch, it is going to get scratched and potentially look awful very fast. The finishing of the case is not particularly good, but it isn't bad either. It is downright basic. At the 3 o'clock position of the case is a vintage style push-pull type crown, signed with Seiko's S logo. The screw-down case back features yet another hardlex crystal on an exhibition window. I love that Seiko went the extra mile and made the rotor worth looking at, by making it gold and skeletonized. The usual spec sheet is engraved on the stainless steel ring that holds the case back in place. The movement beating at the heart of the Mojito is Seiko's in-house 4R35. Funnily enough, better known as the NH35. That's the designated name for it when it's not used in Seiko watches. This is the B version of the 4R35, an upgraded version. It differs from the first generation A series by having a different jewel count, 23 instead of 24, but also for some reason a larger accuracy error margin of -35 to +45 seconds per day, according to Seiko. It also has a slightly better power reserve of 41 instead of 40 hours. It beats at 21,600 beats per hour. It hacks when you pull the crown out to set the time, and you can hand wind it in addition to it winding itself with the rotation of the rotor as it sits on your wrist. Now I don't have the original strap to show you guys today, but I think the best description I've heard of it is from Shane of Relative Time, when he said this.
The only real redeeming factor of the stock strap is that it has quick release, which means you can quickly take it off and then throw it in the trash. Seriously, just plan on replacing this thing as soon as you get it. It's stiff and just never really seems to break in.
It's that bad. Here it is on my 7-inch wrist. While the calipers do say 38.5, I think it appears larger on wrist. Because it's old dial, with a relatively thin bezel and that huge crystal, it gives the impression of a larger watch. But thankfully it doesn't feel like one. It wears similar to the Orient Bambino, but with the distinct advantage of having way better proportions. The agility is surprisingly good for a watch that has so much going on the dial. Those brushed facets on the hands prevent them from disappearing, so as long as the lights are on, you should be okay with reading the time. Here are a couple of strap options that work well with the Mojito, but I think the best strap pairing I've seen for this watch is this one that Ilan sent me. So what do I think about the Cocktail Time Mojito? Well, I don't necessarily see the Mojito as a dress watch. Not in the conventional way anyway. I think it lacks some finesse to actually qualify as a classic dress piece. It could be a great everyday watch in my opinion, and a great conversation starter for sure. Pros and cons, and I want to start with the cons today. As I keep saying, a domed mineral crystal will always be listed as a con. A sapphire crystal would have been preferred, but unfortunately at this price point, you don't really expect anything else from Seiko. Both the design of the case and the entirely polished finish leave more to be desired. It's a plain, almost boring design, and the finishing level is mediocre. I can try and look at it from a positive angle and say that it makes you appreciate the dial more, but a nicer case would be a welcomed upgrade for sure. The only thing that throws the dial out of balance for me is the date window at the 3 o'clock position. It's just ugly. It would have been much better if it was positioned at the 6 o'clock, or better yet, gone altogether. Now for the pros. The best thing about the Mojito is obviously the dial, and that it is all dial. All your attention is directed towards it, and there's nothing getting in your way of admiring it. I can't stress enough how little justice the camera does this watch. If you think it looks good in this or any other video, wait till you see it in person. Its true beauty is very hard to capture. That green guilloche dial is absolutely gorgeous. The gold elements on the dial are a highlight, especially the beautifully executed dolphin hands. The dimensions of the watch are great, and it should fit comfortably on most wrists. The movement is nice to look at through the display case back, and even though it's a downgrade from previous Cocktail Time models, it still is a solid automatic movement. Now we are left with the question of the value for money. In the past few years, Seiko have been gradually increasing prices, with the goal of moving up market. I think the best example of that practice is the Seiko 5 line. It was once possibly the best value for money line of automatic watches in the world, but today feels more like a money grab operation. There are some incredible watches out there offering superior specs for the same money. For the price of this watch, you almost expect to get a sapphire crystal, and definitely a decent strap you don't have to immediately replace. With all of that said, and it had to be said, Seiko are also offering something that many other brands can't. There's a reason their watches are so popular and desired by new and experienced collectors alike. They're original and bring something special to the table. A certain romance that comes with being one of the pillars of the watch industry for over 140 years. And you can't take that away from Seiko. So is it good value for money? I'll let you be the judge of that this time. I'm looking forward to reading what you guys think down in the comments. Like always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my affordable watch collection, and hit the notification bell for more affordable watches related content. If you've enjoyed this video, you might enjoy one of these too as well. I want to thank Elon for letting me spend some time with his watch, and to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.